I have a message for everyone. I will not be scared into silence when it comes to talking about radical Islam, British culture and multiculturalism. Today there was a highly inaccurate and defamatory report published that accused GB News and myself of being an anti-Muslim hate channel and Islamophobic. This report was put forward by the Centre for Media Monitoring, so it sounds really official. But who is that, really? Well, it's a project by the Muslim Council of Britain. Now, there are numerous inaccuracies in this report, including this quote that they've put my name to, OK? So there we are. I did not say that. That is not me. That is false. And I think it calls into question the validity of some of the things that they say. They essentially claim that I was being Islamophobic to say that I think there is a Trojan horse in Britain that wants to harm us. Well, the report cherry-picks a quote where I say that people hate our way of life and want to harm us, all right? But shall we have a little look at what I'm actually talking about? I'm talking about the Iranian regime planting terrorist sleeper cells in Britain, something our own intelligence and security services are on record warning us about. Iran has been at war with us for decades. They have militant sleeper cells in Britain ready to rise up and attack us, and the taxpayer has been funding them. That's the allegation. This is the very definition of a Trojan horse. That's not about Muslims, is it? That's about Iranian terrorists. They make reference to me joking about the now disgraced former Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, doing more to promote Islam than Christianity. It was in relation to this clip. The latest allegations of fake asylum seeker baptisms for young Muslim men, GB News has obtained leaked footage of the Archbishop actually conducting one of these asylum seeker ceremonies himself.
Greetings to Muslims at the start of the month of Ramadan. I wish you peace and joy as you begin this extraordinary and special time of prayer, fasting and spiritual reflection. Thank you for the huge contribution that Muslims across our nation make to our society.
Yeah, all right, OK, that was a joke. That's obviously not really Welby doing a baptism, is it? It's him wishing everybody a happy Ramadan. This is all from the last few days. So the question stands, I think. Is the Archbishop of Canterbury doing more to promote Islam than Christianity? It is a widely held belief amongst many Christians that Welby, who has been forced to resign amid a child abuse scandal, was not doing a particularly good job of promoting Christianity in the UK. That is not a comment on Islam, it's a comment on Justin Welby and his priorities. Now, they accuse me of saying that Sharia-compliant pensions are one step away from blasphemy laws and that is apparently Islamophobic. Well, shall we have a little look again at what I actually said? The Independent Alliance, aren't they? And they're putting massive pressure on Labour. Some of them were backed by the Muslim Vote Group, which issued Labour with a list of 18 demands before the election. Those demands included things like adopting a new Islamophobia definition that many feel is just a blasphemy law. They want Sharia-compliant pensions and to remove Michael Gove's extremism definition. Now, most people in Britain will want to stand up to this kind of politics and weed it out. Oh, I'm sorry to say this, but what have we actually seen since then? This government not ruling out actual blasphemy laws.
Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran, despite opposition from the previous government. Acts of such mindless desecration only serve to fuel division and hatred within our society. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
OK, then. They say that GB News risks inciting violence against Muslims. But as we've seen, there are serious inaccuracies in this report, and I think that the authors should consider the consequences of labelling presenters like myself as Islamophobic, because there could very well be serious consequences to that indeed, couldn't there? The report makes reference to me talking about two-tier policing in Britain, and that perhaps sometimes elements of the British Muslim community get an easier ride. Well, that is an honestly held belief, I'm afraid, as clips like this incident outside Rochdale Police Station following the Manchester Airport incident highlight.
We saw you. We know you're in there. Come out. Explain yourself. Why has only one officer been suspended? What about the rest of them?
I was very surprised that there did not appear to be a strong police response to that, and I do think that the police were too afraid to act there. Now, they say that GB News is responsible for 50% of the media's coverage on Islam. Well, I'm afraid that some of that will include things like Pakistani grooming gangs, the Batley Grammar School incident, where a teacher has been forced into hiding by a staunchly Muslim community. It will include things like an autistic child's mum being forced to apologise to Muslim elders after her son scuffed a copy of the Quran. It will include things like armed police at Christmas markets across the country to protect us from radical Islamists. And I'm afraid it will include things like we literally saw today in the House of Commons, where a Muslim independent MP stood up and said that he didn't really think that incestuous cousin marriage should be illegal in Britain.
It is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive, something that helps build family bonds and helps put families on a more secure financial foothold.
I make no apology for talking about that stuff. I make no apology for standing up for British culture, British values, and our British way of life. The report states GB News was particularly focused on domestic stories on topics involving Islam, in comparison with our rival channels, where foreign news contributed a greater amount of their output. Well, the clue's in the name, lads, all right? We are GB News, OK? We focus primarily on what's happening right here. And this is why they're actually coming for us. This is why they're actually coming for us. Because the people of Britain are voting with their TV remotes. We are now beating Sky News, all right? And we're snapping at BBC News' heels. We have a huge audience, and it's growing all the time. This is what they're scared of. So they try to smear us. They make other claims about me in this report that are misleading, and I have evidence here to prove that. But frankly, we haven't got all night. So I'll finish with this. I am a presenter on GB News. Great Britain means a great deal to me. We have had documented incidents where the fear of stoking racial tensions or being called Islamophobic has prevented justice being served when it comes to things like grooming gangs. And there's the proof of it, right there, in that headline, in those official reports. I have no desire to be unfair to Muslims. They contribute a huge amount of good to this country, whether it's in the public sector or in wider society. But at the same time, I will not succumb to the fear of being labelled as something that I am not, an Islamophobe. And I will not shy away from doing interviews with people like Britain's most famous head teacher when she spoke about the death threats her and her colleagues received for wanting to stop a Muslim prayer room in her school.
We're getting all kinds of death threats, and we had a bomb scare. The police had to come and search the school for bombs. We had all kinds of, one of my black teachers was so badly racially abused. You know, she was called the N-word and the C-word and compared to a monkey and all kinds of horrible things.
You can say what you like, and you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm going to keep doing my job.